Recorded live in Balcatta, Western Australia, the hoon capital of the world. This is Talkin' Power.
Gap is what happens when you hold to the floor and crush the man next to you. There's space in between your back lumbar and your front bumper. We in the South we refer to it as the gap band.
Well, I think Formula One is for grown-ups.
Shut the grade on this one, Rex. Here's the guts.
When we start following the move, don't be little surprised we're gonna get down the chairs!
Yes, listen, please, one word.
Please, mate.
So, what about the sideways? You've got a race in your own lane. Now he's on the grass, he brings it back. That's a great driving there.
Torque and Power. Your motoring and motorsport podcast.
Okay, welcome to episode 22 of the Talk and Power podcast. I'm with co-host Simon Gonzo Travellini. How are you, Simon?
Good, mate. This is our first episode for the new year.
It is.
It feels like it's our first episode ever.
It does. It does, actually. If you're not watching the video, we're recording in your workshop in Malaga, so thanks for having me down here today.
Malaga, the second most toon capital of the world.
The second. We got an interview tonight.
We do.
We are going to be talking to Jamie Paolucci. He is the event director of Racewars, which is going to be on March 3 to 5, the long weekend, by the way, I might add. It's a long weekend of March down in Albany, lovely Albany.
So get down to Albany.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, it's good value. Like when you compare it to the other sporting events around, it is incredibly good value.
Oh, this is incredible. I couldn't believe it. $20. Everyone that's listening, $20 for entry. Kids under 12 are free. However,
this is for the whole weekend.
Yes,
this isn't $20 per day. This is for the whole weekend.
That's correct.
Let's put that in perspective. You can go to the footy and watch, what, an hour and a half?
You can buy a hot dog for $20 at the footy.
How much does it cost to go? You go to the footy well, you used to.
I'm a member. So but yeah, it costs a lot more than that, I can tell you now.
That's ridiculous.
It is a lot more.
$20. That has got to be the best value for money event. Like it's barely dearer than going to see a movie.
No, that's right. And
the drags is like $45 or something.
Yeah.
And that's like what, 6 hours, 8 hours, something like that.
Yeah.
4 hours. Finishes at 10, doesn't it?
No, one would argue you can go in there from 11 o'clock and watch qualifying. So. Maybe not. It's longer than that. 11 to 11,
but
12.
the actual racing is
6 to
you've got, look, for $20 you got the quarter mile drags, the half mile drags, and the 1,000-metre VMAX.
Yeah, but then you've also got cash days as well.
You've got the cash days.
Yep.
Then you've got, if you go into the town, you've got the events.
Kebab and cars in Albany.
Yeah.
And also, we should add a group entry is $75. That gets 5 people in. That can get up to 5 people. $75.
Oh no, it's crazy value. Yeah. Crazy value. You're crazy if you miss it.
Yeah. Anyway, we should get Jamie on the line and have a quick chat with him.
We should.
Let's do it. Hey Jamie, let me formally introduce you then. So you're the event director of Racewars, which is coming up March 3 to 5 this year down in lovely Albany.
Yes, the lovely city out.
So thanks for joining us here. As we go into Racewars, look, I've followed Racewars for a number of years, even back in the Wild Catchem days. You've moved down to Albany now. Better facilities?
Well, look, I'll get a little. We won't go too far into it. Racewars was born because a bunch of guys having a few drinks thought about getting somewhere off the road where they could stretch the legs of their cars. We're all like playing and tuning with our cars of all denominations. We're not specific to anything in particular.
Yep.
John, who's the other director of the group, he had some contacts with the Wild Catchem Airport, and before you knew it, an event that was going to be designed around 20 or 30 guys, word got out and it grew and grew, and before you know it, we had to find a suitable insurance group to provide us coverage for an official public event. So that spanned over 13, 14 and 15. Wildcat Council didn't want to proceed any further with the event, so in the interim we decided to sort of close Racewars down. Unknown to us, we had started some discussions with Albany Council in 2016, and the idea was, look, the processes for planning and approvals and everything else, as well as CAST, given it's a federal facility, $76 million airport, people don't just hand them over. Well, apparently they do. But the council was very, very, very progressive. They're very proactive in utilising a spectacle. They took a risk with us, and they gave us an approval in a much shorter time frame than we had anticipated. So, as such, 2017 sort of grew very, very quickly over the course of 2016.
Okay. It's kind of become like a bit of a tourism tool for the city of Albany as well.
Oh, yeah, I know of people that fly in from all over the world, let alone all over Australia, just to go to the event. Definitely. Big feather in the cap for you guys.
Well, look, they took a punt with us because, ultimately, at the end of the day, we have a very good facade for a bunch of hoons that just need to get somewhere and have a good time. We're realistic about that. We're not an event management company as such. However, the council seemed to nominate us the best event group they've ever dealt with up to date. So that was that was pretty funny, actually. Yeah. But look, the event has certainly provided a lot of income streams for the council. I mean, over the course of the weekend, some of the stats were we had about 7,500 people through the gates over 2 days that we counted. We generated about $4.5 million worth of income over the course of the week. There was about an average of 5-day stays or 5-night stays for most people coming to the region. So, for a first go, we knocked it out of the park, and I suppose it gives a bit of weight to the fact that if you build it, they will come. And it sort of forced our hand that we had to run another one. Just the event, sells out in a week, and the influx of inquiry, media outlets, it gets seen all around the world. So it's a very humbling experience, but we have a ball doing it. It's a lot of work. It's all volunteer work, and it's generally late at night because John, my partner in crime with this, along with Jessica and Paul, he lives and works out in Egypt most of the time and Africa. So we're working on very, very unique timelines.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. I mean, that's one of the things we won't get into the racing right away. Let's just talk about some of the events that you have before and after. So the kebabs and cars in Albany on the Friday night. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll even go a little bit further because really Racewars starts ramping up in February. Yeah. That's when the grand show, if you like, starts to really roll on. So once entries close in October, we move through and finalise. There are your standard entries as well as platinum entries, which are a bit more VIP. They have all the bells and whistles. That gets finalised at the end of January, so that list gets finalised now. And then the first thing off the bat is scrutineering. So scrutineering starts up through February, and our sponsors, Magic Nissan, have provided their facilities for the scrutineering, which will be on 10th, 17th and 24th. And members of the public are allowed to attend. We'll have a marquee there with all our merchandise and bits and pieces. And there'll be an array of cars over the course of the day that are getting scrutineered. So it's great for the budding motor who wants to come and check it out. Yep. And then we sort of have Old Faithful Bar and Barbecue, one of our sponsors. They're a foodie sponsor at King Street in Perth. We're holding a barbecue and banter night on the 12th of Feb. That'll be up on the Facebook page, and we'll have a special menu and probably a couple of cars on display at the front, etc., just to kick off from the social side of things. And then the first Kebabs and Cars for the year is at the Shannon's headquarters in Cannington, which everyone's probably aware of. We've held a couple there now last year. Yep. That's probably the official kicker for Racewars with that show and shine and a few awards, etc. But new for this year on the 25th, the very next day, so we've got a very busy February. We've got a coastal cruise and a dyno day on the 25th. So, that's throughout the month of February, and then we kick into the weekend that is Racewars. Yep. So, as you pointed out, we do have a Kebabs and Cars city meet in the city of Albany on the Friday evening, and that's pretty just a precursor to, everyone rolling in. We've got a couple of convoys that are making their way down over the Friday and Saturday morning, so we can sort of control the traffic and the flow and make sure everyone gets down from Perth to Albany in one piece. The police were very, very happy with attendees and how everyone behaved, so we just want to maintain that good decorum with the traffic department.
Oh, very good.
And then the event kicks off on Saturday morning. Fresh, we're out on site at 6 a.m. Gates open, I believe, they quote me, I think it's 8 a.m.
Yep.
But for this year, we'll actually have the gates open for some competitors on the Friday evening, just to try and remove some of that bottleneck when people rock in on the Saturday morning.
Okay, all right.
And Jamie, I know that you guys have never had motorcycles at the event. Do you see in the future, the possibility of a section for motorcycles to compete?
We get this asked every year, and we get inundated with emails, and we get guys pleading, and I feel very sorry for them. The reality of it is, for Racewars and the event that we run, we can't have bikes and cars. We won't get the coverage for it from a liability perspective. And the reality is, from a commercial perspective, for us at least, we sell the event out for cars. We've put out a lot of calls in relation to other members from motorcycle groups. If they want to run an event, we can help them to put one together. But realistically, the amount of time that is invested by us to run this event, just as a car event, and just a number of cars, and providing the ample seat time so people get value for money out of this event, it just doesn't allow us any scope to actually run an event for motorbikes.
No, a fair call. That's a fair call. Well, at least the question's been answered, because I've often had it asked and I haven't known why. But there you go. That's a valid reasoning there.
Oh, mate, I'd love to see a turbo Bussa against one of the twin turbo Lambs or something of the like. You'd have the gods racing each other. That'd be a spectacle in itself. But the realistic thing is, we can't coverage to run that event.
No, fair enough. That's fair enough.
No. And it could, but then you start looking at entrants having to pay a phenomenal amount of money for a limited amount of seat time, and it doesn't work.
Yeah. No, we get that. Some of the events that are on during Racewars, so you got the quarter mile drag roll on, half mile drag roll on, and the 1,000 metre VMAX. Can you explain just a little bit about those three?
Well, we start off on the Saturday with the 400 metre roll-on.
Yep.
It's a good warm-up. We've got a lot of competitors, that now the event's got a few years under its belt, they build cars specifically to come to Racewars. Yep. We've got entrants coming from all over Australia this year for the first time coming to Racewars. So the 400 metre roll-on, it's just people get a feel for their car. We've got a lot of cars that are developing well over 1,000 horsepower, and the number of cars that are doing that are growing with every year. So the 400 metre roll-on really is almost like getting your learner's permit. We'll sort of have a look at the guys and girls that are lining up and sort of rolling their cars on and ensure that everything is aligned with the scrutineering process and the cars are fair. But we don't want to take up too much time, so we'll run a few hours in the morning with that and then kick in straight into the 800 metre, because the 800 metre, ultimately everyone loves the 800 metre. You get a lot of seat time. It's a great spectacle for the spectators. And we'll run that all the way through to close on the Saturday late afternoon. Mm-hmm. At which point we get to a very exciting part of the event, rolling into Saturday evening, where cash days kick off.
Yep. So that's Jordan.
Yep.
Jordan looks after that.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of an unknown entity being Jordan Leith. I don't know if anyone's heard of him before.
Yeah.
But
I think everyone's heard of Jordan.
Yeah, but so last year was our first attempt at that, and it was as with everything, we sort of got inundated. We had spectators we didn't expect to see. We didn't have enough lighting. The infrastructure was a bit limited, but again, it was the first time. So this year we have a lot more lighting. We have a lot more viewing area. We'll be a little bit better equipped to run it. But the heads-up cash days. New for this year is with cash day entrance. You get a cash days premium, so they can actually compete some of the 400 metre on the Saturday, so they can get a bit more value out of the weekend, because a lot of these cars, some of these vehicles, they're true 400 metre drag cars. They're not designed or geared to do the 1,000 metre or the 800 metre for that matter. So we want to try and give these guys as much seat time as they can.
Yeah, okay. No, that's fair enough. Also, Jamie, I've got to ask you, last year's winner, John, now forgive me if I pronounce his surname wrong, Kopchev, he had an unfortunate incident at Barbagallo a few months ago. Is he...
Correct.
Has he got another car ready for Racewars this year?
Yeah, good old John. I mean, he's a gentleman. If you've ever met John,
yeah, I have actually. Yeah.
Guy, he is certainly, he's definitely an icon for motorsport enthusiasts, and just I think humans in general. Such a lovely guy.
Yeah, he's.
John did have an accident. He actually started the process to repair that car, but I think once they really started to peel the layers off, it wasn't. I don't know the details, whether it was financially, whether structurally it wasn't viable to proceed. Yeah. He's since purchased another car, and he is hammer and tong getting that package together to defend his crown for 2018.
Okay.
But that's one of probably quite a few cars that are really set to rock the top 10, I think, for 2018.
We got any new competitors for this year that you want to talk about, Jamie?
Well, look, I think, first things first, you got John Kopchev and Matty Haynes. They were first and second. Matty Haynes in the Tiger Mica R32 GDR. And to put into perspective, you've got a twin-turbo V10 Lamborghini versus a 2.6-litre single-turbo GDR. I mean, all drive is king when it comes to these sort of events, just getting the power down, putting a lot of power down, and be able to maintain a straight line with the right rate of tyres. All-wheel drive is the best system. There was a 0.65 second kilometre difference, between the two cars. Granted, the Lambo was almost a second faster on the ET, but when it came to top speed, which is what it's all about, there wasn't a lot in it. David Christie's putting together a twin-turbo, I think it's a VX Commodore, and that's with a Frankenstein all-wheel drive combination, I think, out of a Cross-8 or an Adventurer, I believe.
Wow. That's different. Yeah.
If you're on the antilag.com forums, I think he's got a build thread on that about it. It's I mean, the guy's a bit of a mad professor when it comes to the LS side of things, but we're really keen to see that. A gentleman by the name of Jamie coming over from over east, he's got a Lexus twin-turbo powered Select with a GDR driveline in it. He was well over 300 Ks running over east. We've got the Willall guys from our South Australia. Very, very keen to see these guys. They've got two cars coming. One's their billet-blocked R35 GDR. That's running about 1,600 horsepower. And they're looking to try and have a crack at the record. The current record stands at 336 odd Ks. We're confident we'll see 340 plus this year. Wow. There's a plethora of performance and horsepower coming. But out of that stable, the twin-turbo Lamborghini that they've been developing over the last 12 months, they've just designed, or probably not just designed, but they've been designing a billet block for that. They're claiming 2,500 horsepower.
Hang on, Jamie. A billet-blocked Lamborghini.
Correct. Billet-blocked 5.2-litre V10. I don't know the specifics, but they're claiming 2,500 horsepower, mate.
What was the budget on that build, just out of curiosity?
I think when you get to that point, there is no budget.
There is no budget.
I mean, Willall are a performance engineering firm in South Australia, so this is this is what they specialise in. But, mate, you got to think about it. Once they get through the first 200 metres, they get well into third and fourth gear, and you can get all that horsepower down. That thing's going to run like a cut snake.
And they're 2,500 horsepower. Did I hear you right?
You heard me correct, mate. Believe me, I keep saying it to myself sometimes. 2,500 horsepower, and I believe there's more in it. This is the first stage of where they want to try and develop the car to run 2,500 horsepower. The ultimate goal may be beyond 3,000.
So where is the line drawn with an event like this as to what cars are eligible and what aren't? I mean, could I rock up with the door slammer and enter it, or would that be considered not
appropriate?
Mate, we want everything. Like we've had a young gentleman. He's got like a 73, I think, 74 Skyline. It's just an NA 2-litre, I think. I don't even know if it was a 6-cylinder. He was one of the slowest competitors. He came for 3 years. He had an absolute ball. Racewars, we have a lot of really serious competitors, but it does not limit who comes and what you bring. If you bring a door slammer, the biggest problem is, in that regard, if you're looking at the 1,000 metre, is the scrutineering and the tyre ratings are very specific. So, but ultimately, at the end of the day, if you can meet the requirements, which aren't, it's similar to going to a street meet on a Wednesday night at the drags. Your car meets, pretty standard common sense safety protocols. I mean, we always recommend, if you've got a fast car, like a genuinely fast car, a cage is a good idea. Yeah. And I think probably as the event grows, and we're mindful of this, as the horsepower grows and the chassis setups really start to evolve, 1,800 metres isn't enough to accelerate for 1,000 and slow down. So we may have to start implementing parachutes in the not-too-distant future, I believe.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I mean...
But no, there's no limit.
In perspective, at the drags, we accelerate for 400 and we have 600 shut down, and we use parachutes.
Yeah.
Hey, Jamie, I have to ask, the AU, how's the Falcon? How's that going? Is that going to be ready?
Mate, if you've seen online what we've been doing with it, we've donated a turbo, and the wastegate outlet on the turbine housing was fouling on the pedal box, or the booster, and that was a bit of a problem. However, we've just received a Precision Turbo 6466, so we're going to try and shoehorn that in there. We want to keep it all under the bonnet. We were talking about having stuff hanging out of the bonnet and everything else, but this has all sort of come together in a short amount of time, so we're on a very strict budget to get it all together. But the manifold's in, we've got a Motec ECU that's been donated that's in there, we've got the exhaust about to get fabbed up, the head's come off, we've just put some valve springs, some studs in there just to try and stop it from exploding on its first run. We've got the intercooler that's on there, the injector and fuel system's going in at the moment. So, look, we're hoping we've got to get the tranny controller in place, and if it all holds together, and from everything we know, they are a pretty stout little package, and everyone loves an AU. It's pretty much the Australiana icon of Australia, really. We're hoping if it puts down 500 rear on E85, that'll be our course car, or as we call it, the Racewars unsafety car, which really goes against everything we're trying to promote. But we went to Albany in November to have a chat with council and really tie up a couple of loose ends as we get to the business end of the time frame. And John and I had been wax lyrically about the AU Falcon and doing a build, and these things escalate really, really quickly. They don't need BS to escalate. It's just you get into that discussion with a couple of mates, and things just blossom, and you think, great, that's a bloody great idea. So we were in Albany, and we just arrived, and John goes, we're going to do this AU Falcon. I went, you know what, mate? If we don't do it now, we're not going to do it. And I said, hang on a sec. Pulled out the laptop, Gumtree. There was an ad that had been 5 hours old. Rang the dude up. It was a one owner. 112,000 kilometres. Oh, wow. Went and had a look at the car. An hour and a half later from being in Albany, we were the owners of a new AU Falcon. So, we were there for 4 days, mate, and we had a monster of time driving in that thing. Got the radio to work again, the air conditioning works. So the little things that really give you memories on a journey like that. So it's on target, and I reckon, it will be there, and we'll be there to upset a few people.
I've heard that you've got some competition in the AU stakes with Simon Gillespie dropping a turbocharged Gen 3 into one. Is that rumour true?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, that guy's, he doesn't think straight. That dude. You've taken a single overhead cam, straight six like that. He's cheating. Yeah, he's cheating.
He listens to the show. You know that.
Look, I'm not going to call him out because the bottom line is he's cheating. But we'll head to head. There's no problem because we know that our AU is the real deal. It's legitimate.
Jamie, we're going to talk about calling people out. Me and Nick were discussing this earlier. And we think we need to call you out with the Camry. We think it needs to be done.
Yeah. Mate, is that Camry ready to go?
It's ready to go. I'll fire it up on the two-step if you want.
Well, look, we were hoping that over the course of February, if we could get this AU up and running, we were going to try and get it down to the drag so we could just see what it does and just run the car in. So if everything goes according to plan. I'd love to call you guys out, and we'll do a heads up down at the Motorplex. And the Motorplex would love to have us there.
This sounds like a plan.
It does. There you go, live, everyone.
Yeah.
No backing down for anyone.
We can do a live stream on Facebook for Racewars. You guys can do the live stream for your podcast.
It sounds like a plan. All right.
No, I'm liking this.
Well, I'll let you and Nick organise it.
My co-host over here, his lovely wife's having a baby right at the start of Feb, so we might have to do a bit of organising.
You can drive.
Yeah.
He's scared. He's scared of a Camry.
I can drive, but not well.
Oh, mate, I reckon you'll talk to you across the bloody lane taking it out. I'm scared.
Have you got spies?
Well, funnily, no laughing matter. We've got one competitor who's an Albany local. He's got a Magna V6 with an extremely large turbine. That's making about, last we checked with him last year, 630 at the front wheel.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. See, I've been telling Nick that we should be doing a Magna next.
I said, nah.
Yeah. Dude, 3.5 big block, mate. That's not a small motor.
I know.
Big lazy revs, but Dan, that would fry the tyres hard. The poor kid, I think he's gone through a couple of gearboxes, and he's been, there's not a lot of information out there and bulletproofing available for the old vulnerable Magna. So, yeah, but he's set the standard. That's what you want. You just want that diversity.
No, that's right. Yeah. Hey, Jamie, look, we'll wind it up here. Just in closing, weekend spectator entry for March 3rd to the 5th down there, $20 per person. Is that correct?
Yep. So kids 12 and under are free. It's $20 per person for the weekend. A group of 5 is $75.
Oh, it's cheap.
Mate, absolute pleasure having you on the show.
Pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I hope you guys can make it down there.
I will endeavour. I don't know about my co-host, but I'm endeavouring to get down there for at least one day. I know Albany, and for those listeners that are not familiar with Albany, from Perth to Albany, 3 stops if you're really that way inclined: Williams, Kojonup, Mount Barger if you need to. Yeah. Otherwise, you drive straight through. It's a lovely town, Williams, and Koji if you need to.
Albany's
it's
a
beautiful drive.
Beautiful place. And there's so many beautiful places around it, Tall Bay, etc.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time there as a kid. Excellent.
Yeah.
Great weather too.
Yeah.
There's a bakery at every stop.
There is. Some of the best meat pies in Australia.
Oh, mate. The drive is 4.5 hours. It's not a big drive. No. In the grand scheme of things, we're a little bit selfish in Perth because we're so used to having everything close by, but it's not a big drive, and realistically, it's a beautiful part of the world.
Yeah, it sure is. Yeah, no, definitely. Okay, Jamie. Well, thanks for your time, and pass on all our regards to the Racewars team. I know there's Jonathan Murray as well, and the rest of the guys. So yeah, pass on our regards, and we wish you all the best.
Gentlemen, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
No worries.
Thank you, mate.
See you, Jamie.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, that was Jamie, and once again, thanks to Jamie for his time and all the crew at Racewars. I know they actually, that's not their full time gig. They actually work full time.
Just that all happened a bit too quick. Did we call him out or did he call up?
Either way, I don't think there's much backing down.
I meant down at Albany, but okay, we'll go to the drags.
It happened very quickly, but either way, it's the
thing is, you know,
electronic media.
The world record for a Camry's at 12.1, and we've seen AUs with stock motors go 9s with turbos on them, so we're not looking good.
Especially when you said I'm driving.
Well, I can't drive. I'm going to be busy.
We're certainly not looking good.
By the time you hear this, I'll be a dad. No,
don't.
Before the next episode.
Yeah, before the next
episode. Well, maybe. I don't know. The kid might come early.
Could do, yeah. You could be right.
All right. So,
400 Thunder. We actually had 2 events since the last podcast. The 6th of January, New Year's Thunder. That got our John Zapier back in the winning circle.
Yeah, it sent him straight to number 1 on the points too.
It did, yeah. It was a pretty stout 570. I mean, Betty in the final had some blower belt issues, and that got him in the points lead. Didn't last too long. It only lasted all of 2 weeks.
Yes, and the Moitz team have now got and I think it's 9 points in it. Yeah,
the points.
Yes, it
spot
is.
On.
9 points.
Yep. And then it's a significant jump down to Frankie Taylor.
But you know what? The last event, and you know, this is the thing. People have been saying, with the big money of Moitz, and we got Spinozzi coming in, and we've got Scotty McLean. These are like teams that are throwing millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Right? These people are well, not quite billionaires, but pretty close to being billionaires. The Bill Gates. Probably the Donald Trump. The Donald Trumps of drag racing.
Yeah.
That's more appropriate, I think. Bill Gates actually smart, I think. Anyway. Anyway, you can take that how you want. The thing that got me was, and this is, there was a race meeting, an Andrew meeting on at Portland, right?
Yes, yep.
So I had some customers and friends that were racing at Portland. They actually stopped to watch the live streaming to see Zap run.
Yeah.
Right? And off the trailer, he goes a 565.
Yeah, it was incredible. I mean, he certainly wasn't... He was top qualifier.
How do you do that? How do you unload the car off the trailer?
I'm not sure, but he has a knack of... It's not the first time he's done it. I mean, arguably, late last year, he went... What did he do? He went in I think he went 60s. It wasn't the first official run, but he didn't start up for his first run, so they took it back to the pit, and then anyway.
A 65 though.
Yeah.
Anyway, nonetheless, he overpowered the track in the final, and Paul Mahoyet, sensational 574 to take the win. Mm-hmm. Let's not take credit away. Credit's due there. That's a epic run for those guys.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
And considering this is their first season and they're at the top of the points, you got to say that certainly feeding the door slammer rectangular dollar bills is working for it.
Well, the next event is actually here in Perth at the Perth Motorplex. It's the Western National, so we're looking forward to that. That actually, unfortunately, conflicts with Racewars.
That's what I was going to say. Does that event? It does conflict. Yeah. It does.
Yeah, it sure does. Yeah.
That's tragic.
It is
because they should actually be working together. I'm sure that they can help promote each other. Yeah. And the Motorplex right now, well, drag racing in general, needs a good shot in the arm. They could probably, run some events before Racewars in conjunction with Racewars to help promote drag racing.
Yeah. One thing, just quickly, I haven't got in the notes I wanted to talk about. The New Year's Thunder was interestingly a one-day event, and they had almost not a record crowd, but it was very well attended. Should we be looking back at one-day events and quitting on these two-day events?
I think the problem is that drag racing is, being tarnished. I mean, it's not just drag racing; it's cars in general being tarnished. Right, their reputation is being tarnished because we see cars killing people on the roads. We're constantly being bombarded with this rhetoric about the pollution that cars create. And, obviously people are trying to sell us on the electric deal, which I've got nothing against the electric deal. I see that as being the future. But while you've got all of that negativity, it doesn't really encourage or inspire kids to want to, for example, driver's licenses, not just here, but worldwide, the lowest number of people getting driver's licenses now.
It's incredible, isn't it? I'm amazed. I don't
when you consider the population growth spurt that we've had, it doesn't make any sense. How could there be less people now getting a license than there was 10 years ago? But that's what's happening. Yeah. So I think that the first thing that needs to happen is we need to get this evil stigma away from drag racing in particular. Drag racing, the biggest problem that we've got is we live in this world now where it's all about recycling and conservation and solar power, etc., etc. And our sport is counterproductive. Yeah. You think about it, we're trying to burn the most amount of fuel in the shortest amount of time. You know what I mean? So everything about what we're doing goes against what kids are being taught these days, Yep. So you need to take that into consideration, and that is a big hurdle that we need to overcome. I don't know, like you hear promoters talk about this crap, and they talk about, the 3-round format, how that's great because everyone gets to run their cars, and it's not what drag racing's about. Drag racing's about being able to do these finite things. I mean, you think about just bracket racing. Yeah. Right? How incredible is it that something that burns on a liquid, you pour this liquid into the tank, right, and out the exhaust comes fumes, can travel 400 metres with someone in the car, usually shifting the gears by hand off a tacho or a shift light or something, and run to within thousandths of a second of what a box that's measuring the air conditions. Is it just me that finds that amazing? You consider there's a chemical reaction going on. Yeah. And all this power is getting driven through, a torque converter, an automatic transmission, a differential, suspension, and yet we can time it to within thousandths of a second. Yeah. It really is an amazing sport when you look at it in that light. But when you've got all this negativity, I think that's playing into it. Yeah. The other thing is the IHRA Andra Thunder 400 mess didn't help because it created division. And this is what the promoters are pretty dumb in general, right? Because they only think about their end of the deal. There's never been anyone in the sport that's kind of looked at the overall picture, right? And this is where they all fall short, because the promoter says, we don't need Group 3, we don't need, they're all dickheads, they just whinge a lot, we just want Group 1, and we'll get the TV, and we'll do this, and we'll do that. Maybe you will. Well, I'm not going to argue that you will or you won't. I mean, the last few years, I've seen not just being there in person, but you see on TV they try and cut the crowd out because there isn't any. It's embarrassing. I mean, some of the Aeroflow Nostalgia Nitro Funny Car deals, sometimes they get a whopper crowd, and then other times you can see they've deliberately not filmed in that direction because there's no one in the grandstands. The thing that the promoters don't see, that the Thunder 400 guys don't see, that the track operators don't see, is that each one of those competitors usually has not just their crew, but their crew's wives, kids, friends, etc. So for every competitor, you usually have 10 people in the grandstands, right, as an average. So you get another 100 competitors. That means you got another 1,000 people through the turnstiles. You know, and that's what we're missing. We used to get 300 competitors at the Motorplex. I think this last event, there was, barely 100. So you're giving up 2,000 people straight away. Now, come Monday after the race meeting, those 2,000 people, if it was a bomber event and there was some awesome runs and there was a real crowd feel to it, what do you think they're going to do at work? They're going to be telling everyone about it. People are going to get sick of hearing about it, So then the next event rolls into town and it's like, oh, you know what? I might go and check it out. So now that extra 2,000 people suddenly brings an extra 2,000 people, right? And that's how you get these 10,000 people crowds. Now, I don't know what the secret formula was at this event, maybe that they've stumbled across something. Maybe it was in the marketing.
I guess, I mean, the 6th of January as well, if people are going away for holidays over that Christmas, New Year, they're generally back by the 6th perhaps as well. Maybe it was just a timing thing. I really don't know, but I thought it was interesting. It was a one-day event, huge crowd.
Yeah, well,
So-
I mean, look, the Western Nationals, you know...
Used to be one day,
Well,
yeah.
I mean, you remember when Capirus ran that 6-0.
Yeah.
First
yeah.
6-0. You know, that crowd was incredible.
Oh, yeah,
that's
just on video. I think I shot that on your video camera,
Yeah.
actually.
It's on the Fat Pizza Racing video. You can see the crowd and everyone erupts when you know, he runs the number. It was just an incredible, phenomenal atmosphere. And I remember going to Calder in the heyday of drag racing during the Winfield Series. You could not... Like, it was hard enough standing in the grandstands, let alone sitting,
Yeah.
you know. The sport is incredible, and it's even better in person than it is on TV. There is nothing on earth that feels like a nitro car.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing. And there is nothing on earth when you see a close door slammer run where they're just door handle to door handle. You know, nothing like it. So, I don't know. I mean, unfortunately, while this green movement exists and the global warming and everything else, you know, we're always going to cop the raw end of the stick, which is sad, because if you think about how much pollution a plane, you know, like a 747 or a dump truck on a mine site, but you never hear anyone talking about those things.
No.
You never hear people go, oh, maybe we should catch a boat. Maybe we should cruise to America, you know. So, anyway.
No one says that.
Look, I hope it pans out, because I don't want to see the sport die.
Yeah.
You know, I'm at the point now where I'm sort of going, well, thunder's it. You know, I can't see myself racing Group 1 again anytime soon.
Yeah.
Particularly with a baby on the way.
Yeah. No.
But, you know, if it helps the sport grow, then bring it on.
We're going to go from the highs of drag racing to the lows of super utes.
Oh, God, Nick.
I just wanted to touch base and cover off that it's growing in popularity.
Let's
12 utes.
12 utes. Let's just run through the Mazda BT50.
BT50, it's a beauty.
The Ford Ranger. Now, I'm surprised that makes it around the track without the gearbox failing. Actually, the BT50's got the same transmission. You know they're the same vehicle?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Anyway, so the BT50, the Ford Ranger, the same car. Holden, Colorado, Isuzu D-Max. We're seeing a pattern forming here. Interesting to note, the D-Max, right? The architecture of the engine, I reckon this is really cool. The architecture of the engine for the D-Max is the same as the GM Duramax engine. And the early Duramax engines, right, this is the V8, which they're making like 500-600 horsepower at the tyres out of. Incredible, out of a diesel. The early Duramax engines were manufactured for GM by Isuzu, and Isuzu actually designed them for GM.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, interesting note.
I didn't know that.
And the Toyota Hilux. I noticed that no one's rebadged a Hilux.
No, they haven't. And the other one I found interesting, Nissan haven't come to the party. So
No.
Don't need to. Navara,
I don't
popular
know.
enough.
This is a joke, Nick.
Look, it's a bit of... I've put this in as a bit of tongue-in-cheek because...
But, you know, the thing is, they had something that the crowd was going to. We've covered this a couple of times.
Yeah.
People were going to see the... what are they? Trophy truck things. What do they call them?
Yeah.
Is that what they call them?
Yeah. So, stadium truck.
Stadium. Is that... Stadium. Anyway, they were going... So what they've done is... They've taken the utes, the V8 utes, which were fun and, you know, like a lot of bumping and rubbing of, you know, fenders. And they've taken these things, which are basically a heap of shit trader ute. That's what they are. I'm going to tell it how it is, right? Although I've got a customer who's got a D-Max, and it's making, I'm not bullshitting, 900 horsepower at the tyres.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, I know.
It's
incredible.
The second time I've been. The 640 out of the Magda's really blowing my hair back.
Yeah, I know. We've got a benchmark now. Anyway, so they've taken that trophy truck concept, stolen. They've stolen that trophy truck concept, incorporated it with the trader utes because that gives them an angle to sell the concept to Mazda, Ford, Holden, Isuzu, Mitsubishi, Toyota, right, and steal sponsorship money out of them. And we've got this eyesore of these things that are slow and have more body roll than an XA Falcon with no sway bars in it. And anyone that's driven an XA sway bar, you'll know what I mean. Do you remember Paulie's one?
Yeah, I do.
Oh,
Yeah.
God. There is a reason that they're called boats. There is a reason why. So maybe they should call these the super boats.
I have no
super
interest.
dry boats.
You know, even people that have these utes are not interested. I've spoken with people that like their Navara or like their...
Well, listen,
Ranger.
what I want to know is, right, are these going to be running in the Bathurst 12-hour?
No.
They haven't got a
Thank
class
God.
for them?
No. They haven't got a
They
class
haven't
for
got...
them.
Wouldn't they fit into the GT class? GT4? Grand Truck?
Grand Truck?
Great Truck?
I thought you were going to go... I thought you were going with something serious there. I thought maybe the invited cars.
Invited cars, I don't know. They're
So-
not definitely the GT3. They're a lot like a Porsche, aren't they?
They're exactly the same.
Exactly the same.
So, yeah, the Bathurst 12-hour coming up. It's sort of it kicks off the motorsport year or circuit racing in Australia.
I
the
think it's
Bathurst
a
12-hour.
great event that just does not get enough support.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
You know, and this is because we've had this culture of the V8s, which now we've got no V8s.
Yeah, I know, that's right.
Sorry to fill you in on this.
Do you think this will grow?
I don't know. I think that the problem, you know, the Group C days were great because there was this great rivalry, you know, between Ford and Holden, you know, and those cars look tough. They look like, if you're a little kid and you saw those cars for the first time, they look cool with the flares and that, you know, they're quite, you know, and that was my favourite era, was the XD, you know, through to XE,
VC, VH, VK as well. There's a VK.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's right. And then we went to Group A, which we, you know, it was a great thing because we had all this international stuff, but in typical that era of Australia fashion, you know, the controversy with the Brockwin and the Sierras getting banned. I mean, you know, what message do you send to the international motorsport community?
It wasn't a good message at all. And over the Christmas break, I read the Alan Moffat biography, and it wasn't a good time in Australia, to be honest. That wasn't a good look for us, and I think we went backwards in a big way.
You know what was funny about it? Shannon's has got this thing on late at night, probably because they're such tight asses that couldn't afford to buy a better time slot or something like that. But anyway,
shout out to Shannon's.
yeah. So Legends of Motorsport. Now I don't know if you had the opportunity to watch it.
Seen bits of it.
Yeah, I've watched a few episodes, right? And the Larry Perkins ones, they touched on how they took the Group A Commodore and took it on the international scene and got their asses kicked. He said it was embarrassing. That's how bad they got beaten.
You did. I mean, and Brocky was another team as well. He went over there with Alan Moffat, funnily enough.
I think that was it.
Yeah.
He was with Perkins.
Yeah, Perkins was only 1 year, and then I think John Harvey did the other year.
Yeah.
So no, it wasn't a good look at all. I think 6th might have been the best.
Was their best.
Yeah,
their best.
Yeah.
Their best.
But it wasn't a good look for us that Bathurst 87.
You know, but that's, I mean, you know, you look at the European, and it's all about preparation, Bathurst, right? So the Europeans come over, Tom Walkinshaw with the Jaguars, kick our ass.
Yep.
Right? The Sierras, Texaco, or whatever it was.
Yeah, Klaus Needswitz.
Yeah, right? They kicked our ass. They kicked our ass. They're prepared better.
Yep.
You know what I mean? They're used to this. They're used to doing things properly. I guess at the level we're at now with the V8s, but what did we do with the V8s? We created our own class so that we couldn't be compared. You know what I'd like to see? And what I reckon right now in this climate, with the way the Australian culture has evolved and the multiculturalism, British Touring Car Series over here.
Yeah, definitely.
Mate, that is the best racing I have ever seen in my life. they bump each other off the track and then they pull over. Because the rule says that if you bump someone off the track, but then you let them go in front, it's okay. You can't get penalised. And I reckon that's cool.
Give the spot back.
Yeah, you give the spot. That's
give
it.
The spot back. Yeah.
That's what we need. So what's going to have the car of the future and all that bullshit that we've gone through? What, they're going to have Mustang and Camaro bodies now?
I'm glad you brought that up. Actually, I didn't put it in. The Mustang looks like it's going to fall on its face. It just doesn't look like it's going to happen. Penske have already noted, or have already come public and said that they cannot work with Ford Australia, and it absolutely blows me away that Roger Penske and Tim Cedric cannot work with Ford Australia.
You know the
given
irony.
Their ties in the US.
You know what the irony of this is? When I built that car back in 2001, we had two of the greatest people that have been involved in modern Ford Australia.
Yeah.
Right. We had the ex-head of Ford Motorsports,
Howard Marsden.
Right. Absolute gentleman.
Yeah.
And bend over backwards to help you. And Jeff Paolucci.
Yeah, Jeff Paolucci, yep.
Unfortunately, both succumbed to cancer. Both legends, and no truer word could be said that the good die young, because those guys were champions, and they saw all motorsport as the potential to win on Sunday, sell on Monday.
Yeah.
And they thrived on that. I don't know who's running it now, but obviously they're idiots.
No, well, Bob Graziano's gone. I couldn't even tell you who's running it now. I actually wrote a letter.
Well, if you've got Roger Penske saying that he can't work with them,
nope.
Then,
So they're going potentially BMW Penske.
Oh, yeah?
Australia. Yeah. Because they just can't
So
work.
BMW is going to... But, it's dumbass rules. We should be running an international rule.
Yeah.
This is the problem. You know what? I got into a discussion. I had Brett Emer pop in the other day.
Yep.
Right. I don't know if you know who Brett is, but
no.
Brett is regarded one of the top nitro tuners in Australia. He works on the Bailey's car.
Yep.
Been involved with Graham Cowan's Top Fuel operation and the Nostalgia Nitro cars. Lovely guy, right? And we were having a bit of a discussion about how Australian motorsport tends to create these classes where we can't draw comparison and then end up looking like kids, right? And Top Door Slam is a classic example of this, right? So we've always been allowed to run a screw blower, right? As opposed to IHRA, which was the closest class in the Pro Modified, which was limited to a 1471, okay?
Yep.
In the early days, they had to run the engine and cylinder head from that make of car. So Chevy had to run a Chevy-style engine. Ford had to run the Ford, which the Hemi, and then you got the Chrysler, etc., etc. And then they opened the rules up and allowed them all to run the Chrysler, but they gave them limited valve sizing, which is still in play as far as I know today, right?
Yep.
Now, you think about it. We're allowed 108, I think it's 108 over, right? D-Series PSI supercharger, right? They're only allowed a 1471, right? 16 over with the new overdrive cap.
Yep.
Okay. They're running 570s fairly regularly.
Yeah.
Right. Here we've got John Zappia, who's up here, right, and then we've got a couple other billionaires that are slightly below him, right, and then you got the rest of the field, some of which have been racing for longer than I've lived. True, it's true, right? Well, maybe not the actual driver, but the team, the people that own the cars, etc. And they're struggling to run 580s, where you got these guys with 14s running, and the weight difference is not that much. You know what I mean? There'd be a tenth of a second in the weight. And the V8 supercars is a classic example. We've created this class, right? And I think that this needs to be said. Down the road from here is Hyperdrive, right?
Yep.
Now, the guy that owns Hyperdrive, Andrew, top bloke, right? He's got an SR20, right, powered, right, S13 Silvia.
Yep.
Okay? It runs in the street car class. Now, there is a formula in the street car class, which is a tyre size versus a weight versus a capacity.
Yep.
Right? They have this beautiful formula. It really is a work of art. Cams have done a fantastic job at being able to match all sorts of vehicles, whether it be a 6-litre Commodore right up to your 2-litre S13 Turbo, right? He goes around the track with that car on a road tyre, on a treaded road tyre, because it's a controlled tyre, right? In 59 seconds.
Oh, wow.
Right? What do the touring cars go around there?
56, 57, 55, around there. Yeah.
Right? And his isn't fully developed yet, and he's actually overweight for his cubic capacity because he wanted to run a slightly bigger tyre.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you want to put the bigger tyre, you got to carry the weight. So he could go to a bigger motor. You know what I mean? So you're thinking, if you can get an S13 with a 2-litre to go around that track within, you know, a couple of tenths, you know what I mean? Like, that's what we're talking about. Like, these V8 guys, and that's what's going to happen. You're going to end up with, like, an event like the Bathurst 12-hour where someone's going to go, wait a minute, what did that thing just run? Now, the classic at the moment is the Porsche Cup, right? So the Porsche Cup is for rich right, that think that they're racing car drivers. That's the truth of the matter, because they're competing against guys that run in the V8 supercars, and it makes them feel a bit better if they can, you know, overtake them maybe, or keep up with them, or whatever. At the end of the day, they're racing car drivers. You're just a rich That's all there is to it. It's as simple as that, okay? Don't try and kid yourself. Now, they always draw the comparison about the difference between driving those cars. And they go, oh, you know, the Porsches, they don't have the power, but because they've got a bigger tyre, they can go around the corners faster. Yeah, okay. All right. Whatever the story is, at the end of the day, let's go to an international set of rules and let's suffer the critique and suffer the fact that we're just not as good as those guys are, and live with it and move on and learn to be as good as them. You know, that was the failing of Group A, was the fact that Australia went, oh, this isn't fair, we're getting beaten. You know, which is probably why we ended up with a bunch of schmucks that didn't get first, second, third ribbons, got a participation certificate instead. Because really, we're a nation of sooks at the moment.
Yep. No, I agree.
And that's what's wrong with the 3-round format.
Yeah.
See, eliminations is the first, second, and third. The gold, the silver, and the bronze. Right? 3-round format, participation certificate. Oh, you had to go, mate. Do another lap. Come on. Come on, have another crack.
All right. Should we... I think we need to give our listeners an update on the Camry.
Oh, the Camry. Okay, so for those of you that haven't been following, basically, over Chrissy, I got the shits. And Dave, my ex-brother-in-law, who's a champion, who was meant to be here tonight, actually.
He's probably turning up still. Probably not.
I'm going to be going home. He's going to be working on it by himself. Anyway, we came in, basically got a stock standard Camry, dead stock, $600 special. Funny story, bought it on the side of the road off a guy at 2 o'clock in the morning. It was all a bit sketchy, dodgy. I liked it.
But the car's legit.
Yeah, the car's legit.
It's just the guy was...
I don't know why the steering barrel was snapped off. Or
Are you making this up? The steering barrel wasn't snapped.
It was so. You changed the column on it.
Oh, I thought we did that because the other one was just looked nicer.
Oh, is that what...
Yeah, that's what we're going
Anyway,
with.
no, it's legit. It's legit. Anyway, so we took the hot side and the cold side. Well, actually, me and Dave took the hot side that we'd already made.
That's you.
Oh, it's Dave. I'm going to put him on speaker. Dave, you're live on Talking Power.
How you going out there?
Yeah, good. We're nearly wrapped up. I reckon we've got another 10 minutes on the podcast.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll head out.
Oh, okay. All right. We'll see you when you get here.
Are you doing work on it, or is that it?
Yeah. Well, I want to take you for a drive before I break it.
You want to what?
I want to take you for a drive before I break it.
Oh, it doesn't have to be tonight.
Yeah, it has to be tonight because I'm probably going to break it.
Okay. Alright. No dramas. Well, I'll just start, mate. Do you want anything to eat? Are you eating or anything like that?
No, we're good. We're good.
All right, mate.
Good? Alright, give us about 20. I'll be out there.
All right, see you then.
Catch ya.
See you, mate.
There you have it, impeccable timing. So Dave and I took the hot side, bolted it on this stock Camry, and then I came in and did the fuel system over a couple of days over the Chrissy break while we were shut. And then Nick and I came in and did the cold side. I'd already cut the holes that needed to be cut. And as you'll see, if you haven't already posted the videos, it actually started up. Which was
incredible,
a shock.
really. It was straight away, off the bat.
But, you know,
Zero
Jamie from Shift Kits, I can't say enough good things about him or the Mega Squirt system. I'm absolutely blown away that... now, speaking of which, my background with EFI goes back, straight out of high school. Right?
Yep.
So the early Microtechs just had a couple of dials, and then the later ones, had the hand controller. And I've been used to tuning in milliseconds, right? So the way the modern EFI systems, and this goes for the factory setups like in the Commodores and so on, they use a volumetric efficiency table, or VE table, right? So this is where electronics guys and mechanical engineers get together and talk bullshit, basically. Because the theory of a VE table is that you go to a certain point, and so just for those of you that don't understand volumetric efficiency, let's take the Camry engine, right? It's 3 litres, okay? That's the swept volume. So that's if we added up the volume of each cylinder from when the piston's at the top to when the piston's at the bottom, it would work out to 3 litres. So basically each cylinder's half a litre.
Yep.
So theoretically it's a 4-stroke engine, so it needs 2 turns of the crankshaft for it to do a full cycle. Theoretically, if you turn the crankshaft 2 turns, it should move 3 litres of air. Now, it doesn't, okay? And this is where volumetric efficiency comes into it. So at certain RPMs, you could get close to 100% VE. On certain engines, like a Pro Stock engine, for example, or a Formula 1 engine, you'll exceed 100% volumetric efficiency. It's done through what used to be referred to as the ram air effect, where every time the valve shuts, there's a pulse.
Yep.
If you get the pulses to hit each other in a certain way, they'll actually force more air into the motor than what the engine's capable of. Then when you add boost to it, so 1 bar of boost, if the engine reaches 100% VE at 1 bar, you'll reach 200% VE, right? So that's the theory behind the table, but it kind of gets a little bit lost because, number one, there's some stuff going on in the background in a lot of these programs that take boost into account. So theoretically, that VE table isn't really volumetric efficiency. They're just calling it that, So it's been a bit of a learning curve for me. And the other thing is that a lot of these modern EFI deals have auto-tune. Now, a lot of people are skeptical. Old guys like me are skeptical. Old. Not that old. Well, maybe I am. Anyway.
Old school.
Old school guys, yeah. We're skeptical about this. And you and I discovered this firsthand. We've broken some stuff on the Camry. Now, it's not major stuff, right? It's stuff that you would expect a car that's got 274,000 kilometres on it to break. For example, we've broken the engine mounts, right? Partially because I'm thrashing it. Partially because it's got a turbo on it. Partially because it's got 274,000 Ks on it. And when I made the manifolds, I didn't allow enough clearance because I didn't expect that we'd break engine mounts. So we took out one of the O2 sensors, and of course the auto-tune function uses the O2 sensors. Now, in this particular vehicle, we have 2 O2 sensors, one for each bank, and the default was 15.5. The other one's reading fine. It averages them out, and it tunes accordingly. So it was adding fuel when it should have really been pulling fuel.
Yep.
Right? So, that was a bit of a learning curve, hence why I've gone back to manual tuning. Nothing wrong with the way the ECU works. It's incredible to watch it actually doing its thing. It's just that I'm old school and I'd prefer to tune manually. Nonetheless, so we got it all running, and we had a little bit of a balls up in that I didn't plug one of the holes in the wastegate. My mistake. Back in the day, wastegates had 2 holes in them, not 50. Right?
It does have a lot of holes, that thing.
Yeah, well, see, the thing is, you got to account for the millennials. They're too lazy to undo the screws and turn the gate, right, which is what we used to have to do, right? So, you know, the smart gate companies go, well, you know what, we'll just put lots of holes in there so they don't need to. They can have the outlet whatever they want.
Yeah, okay. All right, I'll see that.
Anyway, so we went out for our first drive and we had 27 pounds boost.
Who was driving?
I was driving.
Yeah, you were
I
that
was
time,
driving.
yeah.
So, you know, theoretically, this motor should have sprayed itself by now. And if you look at the conrods and pistons and gudgeon pins in this engine, right, you'd be going, bullshit, you had 27. But we had 27. The saving grace is the air-fuel ratios were like 8-1. So the thing was rich misfiring and, you know, carrying on. But we've got the gate sorted. We've got 7 pounds in it now, which is all it'll make with the standard, yes, you heard me, standard Toyota 2-inch OD, not ID. So that makes it 1 inch and 7/8, I believe.
Pea shooter exhaust
and twin mufflers. It's 7 pounds. It's hanging in there. The first turbo, we put a standard XR6 turbo that we got. Because, you know, kind of we had this bit of a discussion about where we were going with this and, you know, rods and pistons, this and that. Now, we kind of lost the intent. The intent was that we're going to get a heap of shit and put a hairdryer on it. And that's what we've got now. So we went and bought a heap of shit turbo for $500 and put that on there. And Nick forgot to tighten one of the bolts.
What a
Anyway, so I heard this leak, which was an exhaust leak because it was one of the turbine housing bolts. And I thought, oh, shit, you know, I better check this out. And that was I took my 9-month pregnant wife for a drive in this thing,
and it breaks down.
So my baby boy, we made it back. There's no issue there. My baby boy's already used to the G-forces. He already thinks I'm crazy. Hasn't even been born yet. So I took it for a drive. Got back and there was this popping noise. I thought, oh shit, I've broken something, or the manifolds are cracked, or you know. Got the turbo half off, and that's when I realised, hang on, there's a bolt missing. Oh, that's right, Nick left it loose. So in doing that, the $500 turbo, the bearing had started getting noisy. So thank God. So we put the one that Grant serviced for us, put that on there, and it's hanging in there at this stage. As you heard, I'm really keen to take Dave for a drive in it before we break it because it is kind of really you have to go for a drive or drive this thing to really get your head around what it's like because front wheel drive cars should not. And you know, I mean, look, at 7 pounds at best, this has got 300 horsepower. Right now, I don't know whether it's combination of the little tweaks that we've done here and there on the car. I don't know what it is, but it feels like it's got a lot more than 300 horsepower.
It's an incredible car to drive. I mean, it's amazing. It's a testament to what you've done, really.
We've done. It's been a group effort, you know.
Let the turbo bolt loose.
Anyway. So I'm hoping, like I don't know for sure, but I think that it's together enough that we can take it down to the Motorplex, right? And the tune. We haven't added it on the dyno because I know that I'll break it on the dyno because it's just too easy to go, let's just find a little bit more boost in it. Right? So if it survives tonight, there is the possibility that, you know, we'll get it down to the Plex shortly and just see what it runs. I don't know what Scott's run since he's put the car back together. I think his best before was a 12.0 or a 12.1. So
12.0 at drag week, he rattled off a 12.1s and 12.2s, but I don't believe it's gone quicker than 12.0.
But I feel that right now, and we'll post up some photos of the finished product, right? Because my wife's had this annoying noise from her car for as long as we've known each other, and it started making that noise after she had a slight car accident.
All right.
And I've changed wheel bearings. I've done all sorts of things on this thing trying to eliminate the noise. And I went and bought another set of rims right? And because I was suspect on this one rim and tyre, and it fixed it. I swapped it over. I swapped 2 of the rims and tyres over, and it's fixed it. So I've got the noisy ones on the Camry
Oh,
now.
wicked. That's awesome. That's where they're from.
Yeah, so that's Nicole's contribution. She's donated.
That's quite a good contribution.
I think it is. So we've got mags. So that saved a whole. I think
It was a substantial amount of weight.
12 kilos.
Well, that's
which is
28.9 pounds.
Pounds, yeah, which is like 3/100ths of a second.
Yeah. That's not a lot, but it's still a contribution in any event.
We also got another set of springs from Stewie, and Stewie also supplied the top engine mount from WO Suspensions. If you need any suspension work done, go and see the guys there, because nothing is out of their realm. You get some guys looking at you going, "You want to do what?" But he was on board. He was like, "You want a Camry? Let's do it. Let's you know." And we gave it its first wash this afternoon, and it's white.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I thought it was sort of greeny, dark, blacky kind of colour. So fingers crossed we'll get it down there before we break it, because, you know, like I've said in one of the videos, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
The timer is counting.
The timer is well and truly on its way. It had 274,000 Ks on it before we started.
Yeah.
I think in the last week, it's probably done as much damage as another 274,000 Ks would. We've sort of done, we've done a good 18 years worth of
you
wear and tear
it's incredible,
in a week. So yeah, that's where we're at. So you know, look, we've still got the bits for the other motor.
Yep.
I've been told that these camshafts are going to be here sometime soon, hopefully before next Christmas.
I don't think you're going to break this one anyway, so...
Nah, we're going to break it. We're definitely going to break it, Nick.
Yeah,
but you know, like, you really... What you need to do is you need to let our listeners see the size and the material that the factory con rods and pistons are made out of. Like, the papier-mâché would be a stronger material for sure, 100%. And the rods, China, I don't mean that they're made in China. I think they're made from China. I'm scared that if you drop... In fact, we should put one of the factory rods to the test and do a drop test on it and see if it shatters, because I'm fairly convinced that it would.
Yeah, right. They've got Bakelite coating on it as well.
I think the bearings are Bakelite. I think it's got Bakelite bearings, papier-mâché pistons, Bakelite bearings, China rods.
If you know anyone at Toyota, point them in our direction and just show them what we've been doing as well.
The thing is, I would love to get a modern Camry, because they have got the last of the Orions, which is, you know, it's a Camry.
Yeah,
it's bloody,
it is. Yeah,
it's you know. Has got a full forged motor from factory, because they made them TRD supercharger ready. And for those of you that haven't seen it yet, check out our intercooler. We've got it's the latest.
On Facebook,
it's the latest in Toyota race development accessories. There,
you know what? When Toyota see that, they probably won't want to come on board.
It's look, the turd stands for Toyota's underrated drag car. Right, that's what TURD stands for, because, you know, we're going to show these guys. We're going to show these Falcon Brigade. I've turned. I'm no longer I'm thinking about putting a Camry body on the door slammer. I have to see if Andrew will approve it first, but they probably won't. It was Australian built.
Yeah, well, that's...
So
that's
the rules,
Aussie,
mate.
Yeah.
Rules say
they were Aussie built up until not that long ago.
You have to bleep that.
Yeah, that's all right. All right, Simon, I think David will be here soon, so we might wind this one up. This is gone. Wow, this is a long one, this one.
It's a long one.
We said we're going to do a short one.
I know.
We
didn't have much to talk about, because you wanted to talk about the utes.
Yeah. No, I had to put it in there.
Super utes.
Hey, Simon, all the best.
They don't even run on super.
I know.
Diesel.
Simon, all the best for the next couple of weeks. It's exciting times ahead. I'm not talking about the Camry either. So you will some very memorable moments about to come.
I can't wait, mate.
Yeah,
I can't wait. I can't wait to meet my son for the first time.
That's a beautiful feeling. So all the best with that, and we'll catch up with you soon. There'll still be another podcast in a couple of weeks. It might just be me or myself, or if someone wants to come on, let me know.
No, we might do it with a screaming child in the background. We'll add some authenticity.
Really? No, you want to think about that. I'll give you a tip.
Well, I've been told, everyone, the midwives and that are telling me that they're nocturnal when they're born.
Yeah,
it's some primeval sort of, when we were running from dinosaurs.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. All right, thanks a lot, Simon.
Thanks, Nick. Thanks for having me on the show.
Thanks, everyone, for listening. Go to our Facebook page. Subscribe to us on iTunes if you can, because, the more subscriptions we have on iTunes, the better possibility we have of getting some sponsorship. So if you can subscribe to us on iTunes, go to SoundCloud, our Facebook page as well. As I said, Instagram, like us, share us, and that'll be great.
See you on the street.
See you guys.
Talk and Power stresses all characters and events on this podcast, even those based on real people, are entirely fictional. All celebrity voices are impersonated poorly. We do not encourage street racing or the use of turbochargers.